Welcome to Late to the Know-How. I'm Simon and this is session 4. So we're going to start this session as we have been doing previously with just going over some errata of what happened the last session. I've actually written some notes, so this is going to be very exciting. So the first thing is when the players took their short rest after the combat, I realised I didn't go over them like doing a search on the tree or anything like that to see if there's any indication of what might have happened. But what I thought was because I didn't use the Oracle word clever to describe how the tree's actions were happening, I basically made it a very angry, rageful entity. I thought, well, let's apply that clever Oracle inspiration word to the item that they find. So they find an item on the tree. Maybe within the tree there's like a compartment of some sort underneath the bark that they find this item. So what I did was I rolled on the Oracle inspiration tables, the verb, noun and adjective tables, and I came up with teach, bell and ghostly. So then I thought a little bit about what that implies, and I've come up with this this item, and it may be just nothing, it may not be relevant to anything, or it could be a plot line device or something. We'll find out, I guess. But essentially what they find is an ethereal looking abacus that makes a small chime sound every time the beads are slid to one end. So yeah, they're looking around the tree, they're resting and they're trying to heal up and stuff like that for that 1 hour short rest. And you know, they're looking around the tree at the same time and they're digging around and they find this, you know, hidden compartment or a place underneath the bark, and they find this item and they're like, we don't know what this is, but we'll take it with us and someone may be able to help us out. Okay, the next thing I did was I kind of found that the 24-mile hex tile is a bit big. So they're basically, the day essentially gets divided into two. There's like a morning session and an afternoon session. And within those two sessions, it'd be nice to have a bit of change in scenery within that kind of biome. So what I did was I printed the hex tiles in half size. I'll grab this so you can see. So basically I've made two 12-mile tiles to fit into one of the larger ones. And that gives me the ability to go, well, the first part of the day is just the forest, for example, but the second part of the day, there may be a hut there or whatever. And that's kind of what happened that first day. Basically, the party travelled for the morning just along the road, and then for the second part of the day, they met up with Bo at the scout camp. So I've reprinted a whole bunch of tiles as half scale, and I'll put up a picture of what the map looks like, including the next upcoming tiles. So yeah, basically I've changed the hex rules to do two 12-mile hexes per day, and that way we can roll on the second tile to see if there's anything interesting in that tile or slightly different, or maybe a total change in biome, who knows. That's the whole point of it being random, but I think it gives us a bit more dynamic change. Because I wanted to print a bunch of these hex tiles at 50%, I decided to pre-generate the village that they're going to be reaching at night time. And it's just following the same procedure that we've done before, rolling on some random tables, getting some names, getting some information about the township or village. And so we'll just go over that now. So I rolled on the table to determine what kind of settlement it was. basically we're still within the forest area, so it's going to be a trading post, it's going to be a hamlet, or it's going to just be a small village. And I just rolled and I got a hamlet, and then I rolled how big roughly, and I came up with 10 houses kind of clustered all together. And it's a simple village, a simple hamlet. It's not really a trading post in the full sense of the word. It's a very a farming kind of, hamlet, I guess. But when I rolled on what was the main resource of the hamlet, it came up with fishing. So then I went, well, there's not going to be any ocean nearby, I don't think. It's more likely that there's going to be a river or a lake. So I rolled that there was a river indeed nearby. And the way that I did that was, for the tile where the village is, I said, I asked the oracle, does the road split? Like, is there multiple exits at this village? Like, is it a hub? And the result was just a normal yes. And then I rolled, is one of the tiles, next tiles, a river tile? And again, it came up with yes. So I basically rolled for this kind of tile. It's a bit blurry. So we've got our village, and then we've got two roads splitting off, and on one of the roads there's a river next to it as well. And you'll see that on the image that I put up on the screen of the hex layout. So basically we've got our new village, which is called West Blackworth. It's just a hamlet. It's got fishing as its main sort of source of resources. And our party, who are a little bit tired, rock up just as night is falling. Alrighty, so our party have now reached West Blackworth. And as part of reaching there at night time, they're going to encounter a guard of some sort. So the hamlet is, it's a small hamlet, but it's still on the main road. They're still concerned about, keeping the hamlet safe from forest creatures and bandits and things like that. So they might have a rotating work roster of, just the locals who will stand guard for, part of the night and swap out, that kind of thing. And as part of that, I thought I better generate an ancestry and class table, just using the 2024 rule set, just so that when the party encounter any NPCs, we can use this to determine, any applicable ancestry or class that the NPC may be. So what we'll do is we'll use this right now, actually. Our tired and weary party have reached West Blackworth, and the first thing that they come across is a guard. He might just be one of the fishermen, or she might be a fisherman. We're not going to judge. And they're just standing there with some sort of weapon and a bit of dodgy armor or something or other, and says the usual halt, who goes there. So our characters are going to have an interaction with the guard. Okay, so let's roll to see what the ancestry of the guard is. It's a 61. And a 61 is a halfling. So we've got halfling names in our random books. So let's grab a name, and we roll for our name. That's 18. Max Row. So Max Row is our halfling that's standing guard at the moment. Alrighty, so we've got this little halfling dude here, and as usual, I'll reprint him in the right scale and paint him up, and that'll appear next session, so you can see what Max Row looks like. So he sees these three weary travellers coming along the road. He may or may not know them, so we can find that out with the oracle roll, just to see what his general reaction is going to be to the party. All right, so let's just roll on the oracle just to see, does he recognize the party? It's early evening, so chances are he would see them. If he did see them, he would know them, but we'll just see if he does actually know them. 8. It's just a straightforward yes, success. So he does know them. So he sees them coming up and he squints a little bit. He's like, I recognize those 3. What are they doing here now? Walk up to them. Hail, well met. What are you guys doing here? Now the party, probably looking a little bit worse for wear. So essentially Lena would be like, we're on our way from Kilvington. We've been tasked with just working out what's been going on. We need to speak to, the town, your hamlet leader. But before we go on, we got attacked by an awakened tree, midday, and we've been fast tracking to get here. Warby's been injured. Salathel got injured. We need rest and recuperation. Is the inn still open? Can we come in and grab some rest and some food and have a sleep during the night? And well, Max Rowe is like, sure. Our little inn is still open, of course. It's not too late. It might be 6 o'clock. It might be dinner time. It's going to be pumping in there. Let's go in there and get you sorted for the night. Alrighty, so Max Rowe escorts our party quickly because he's got to get back to lookout duty to the inn. Now, good thing about having all these random tables is a lot of them, they have random tables for everything. And there's a random table for inn names of inns. So let's roll a name for our inn. 75. And it's called the Hilt and Blade. So nothing really to do with fishing, but so be it. So our party enter the Hilt and Blade. And yeah, indeed, it's evening time. It might be just past dinner, so, there's not many people eating, but, it's been a busy day for the people of the hamlet. And so, they're winding down. There might be people playing some dice games and card games. There's going to be some booze happening. There's going to be a bit of conversation. The Max Rowe leads the party in and everybody kind of does the whole usual trope look of who's this coming in? And then they see who it is. We can assume that if Max Rowe knows who they are, then everybody else in the village will, if not know them personally, will know that they're from the Enclave and go, oh, it's just, guys from the Enclave. No drama to worry about. Everybody seems pretty friendly. So Max Rowe takes them up to the innkeep, and he goes, here, innkeep, and we'll sort out a name and stuff for that in a little bit, and he jogs off back to being on guard duty. So let's determine our innkeep. All right, let's roll for our innkeeper ancestry. 65. It's another halfling. So perhaps let's just say this is a halfling village. It's a whole bunch of possibly an extended halfling family, and they've set up this village. And their main thing is that they do fishing, and they're very good at fishing the local river for eels and turtles and tortoises and that kind of thing. So yeah, let's have it a halfling village, and let's give this halfling a name. 97, and that's Sambul. And we'll make Sambul a fairly, we'll go a bit tropey. We'll make her a fairly rotund, jovial kind of halfling. Very happy, very good with the customers, great customer service, very strict when it comes to running her business, but also, knows how to, play along with a joke and things like that. So she sees Max Rowe bringing the party in, and is like, as with all the other people in the inn, is like, oh, what are these guys doing here? Oh, it's just the guys from the Enclave. Well, whatever. But then, Max Rowe comes up and says, something's going on. Can you help these guys out? And Sample's, of course, like, no worries, no dramas. So she turns to the party and says, you guys look like you need a bit of food and a drink and a bit of rest. And Lena's like, yeah, look, we're on our way from Kilvington. We need to talk to, the Hamlet, who's in charge of the Hamlet. But on our way here at lunchtime, we got attacked by a very angry and rageful awakened tree. We've never seen anything like that. The awakened trees are usually very calm. And Sample's like nodding, like confused about it as well, like, yeah, agreeing with what they're saying. And Lena's like, Warby got really hurt, and Salathel's been hurt. We really do need some food and, a bit of rest and recuperation, and hopefully we can stay in one of the rooms here in the inn. And Sample's like, yeah, of course. And she sort of whistles, and maybe one of the serving people serving halflings come out from the kitchen, and she's like, gives them some order, get some food ready for these guys, 3 servings of this, some of this. Let's get some, some nice stout beer for them, some hearty meals. Grab a seat near the fire, warm yourselves up, have a bit of a rest. We'll organise a room for you, and then in the morning you can meet up with the Hamlet leader. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So let's say they stay the night at the inn. They rest and recuperate. They have they get to talk to some of the locals about the storm and stuff like that. And the locals let's ask the Oracle what the locals know, if they know anything at all about this crazy weather. So we'll roll on our Oracle table. We'll just do a general blanket. Does anyone in the inn not necessarily know anything specific about the strange weather that's occurring, but if they've noticed anything out of the ordinary about what's been happening? That's a 3. No, but. So no one sees anything, but there's maybe there's some rumours going around. Let's think of a rumour of some sort. Well, we can use, even though we're not up to that part of the complication chain, we can actually use some complication results just to see if what this rumour might be about. So the subject of the rumour is 9. There's some sort of magical or technological anomaly, and an action for the rumour is 6. And it says advances the plot. So maybe the rumour is that maybe they've seen a group of magic users coming through, not towards Kilvington, but coming through the other way, because we've got a north and a west kind of road. Okay, so they've seen several groups of magic users traversing that particular road, and when they've come through, I don't know, the locals have kind of picked up a weird vibe from them, like something strange is coming from that group when they walk through. And yeah, it seems unnatural. It doesn't seem like it's a natural. Yeah, they just seem like an odd group, but not in they're an odd group. More like oh, there's something weird about those guys. I don't really like how they're walking around, and they sort of seem a bit shifty. Also, I don't have a halfling innkeeper kind of mini, so I'm just going to use this this one for now, and I'll have a bit of a look around and see if I can find one and print one up. I think it's nice to sort of, print up the minis as we go, because you never know, we might meet up with them again. They might be villains in disguise. No, probably not, but we don't know. Alrighty, so the morning comes, the party have all refreshed, they've regained all their hit points and their spell slots and all that sort of stuff. They're feeling a lot better. They get up, they go down to Sembol, and maybe in the morning, Maxro is there as well, having like a bit of breakfast, or he might be having his tea because he might, have to sleep for the rest of the day because he's been on night duty all night. And they go, "Good morning, how are you? How'd you sleep?" The party are like, "Oh yeah, pretty good. We feel all refreshed. But we really need to go and talk to your leader." Take me to your leader. So they say, okay, well, the mayor's office is just over the other side of the road, and you can go over there and talk to them. It might be, I'd say they're pretty studious, community. So they're up early to do morning fishing and stuff like that. So everybody's up and about. It's not like it's a sleepy Sunday morning. So the party head over to the mayor's office, and it might just be it's only a small hamlet. It's probably just his house, and he might just have a room that's his office, or their room or her room. So they knock on the door, and we'll assume that they're a halfling, and we'll get them to meet the mayor, and we'll just roll again for their name to start off with. Basically, when I roll on their name, it gives me a rough indication of their sort of gender or how to play them. So that's the reason why I picked their name first before any sort of descriptive attributes first. And that's a flat 20. And their name is Hagren. Let's say they're a male halfling. And what I'll do is I'll actually roll on our class table just to give me an idea of what kind of leader they are. Like, what's their main background for being a leader. And that's flat 40. And so they were a fighter. So he's the leader because he's good at organising. Perhaps in the past he came to the forefront for helping to defend the hamlet against an incursion of bandits or something or other. So he's well respected for being able to defend the hamlet. So the party knock on the door. He opens up. It's the Druid Enclave. How are you going? What are you doing here? And he brings them into his office, and they sit down, and maybe he offers them some tea of some sort, a drink of tea. And as they're sort of having a bit of a chat, Lena and the party explain that they've been sent by the Druid Enclave at Kilvington to have a bit of to ask around at the nearby villages and hamlets within the forest area and the surrounding areas if they've seen anything strange that may account for why there's these weird storms occurring more recently in the past few years, and a very crazy tornado coming through. They then also explain that on their way to the village, to the hamlet, West Blackworth. I really got to start to remember these names. that they got attacked by an awakened tree. They're, like they explained to the other NPCs in the inn last night, awakened trees are usually very calm, and they help to look after the forest. They're never usually angry. This one just came out of nowhere and attacked them, and both Walby and Salathil, were badly hurt. They've recovered overnight though, and then during having a bit of a look around and a bit of investigation, they came across this strange ethereal abacus that was tucked within the awakened tree's bark, in like a barky sort of pouch, so to speak. Now, Hagrin may actually say, yeah, well, like the folks in the inn last night have told you, we've seen groups more recently than, not like we didn't see them years ago, but just recently we have seen several groups of 3 to 4. They look like magic users. They wear cloaks and they've got staves and things like that, just walking the north and west road, the road that goes from the north to the west, backwards and forwards. A couple of times a month we'll see groups of them. They don't come into the hamlet at all, really. They just sort of walk through. They've got their own, they basically mind their own business, but they don't really give off a really nice vibe. There is a bit of a shadiness about them. We could be totally wrong, but they seem very unfriendly, and they're very intent on their own sort of thing. They're not interested in having conversations, and when people have gone up to talk to them, they kind of go, "Oh, not interested," out of the way, and and away they go. But they definitely have some sort of arcane thing going on. They've got staves that kind of glow a little bit. They seem to us to be a bit shifty. Now, we don't know if they're part of the plot or not, so we're not going to assume that they are, but we're just noting them down in our journal, that there's this group of magic users of some sort that are traversing that road. Now, as for the this abacus thing, we'll check on the oracle to see if Hagrin knows anything about this abacus. 3, no, he doesn't know anything, but he goes, it doesn't look familiar to me, but I do know of people who use these kind of abacuses, and they are in the next town along. So that's a lead for the party, at least in regards to that item, about using this kind of device, these abacus, or an abacus similar to this one. Alrighty, so I reckon we're going to be pretty close to 30 minutes for this session. So let's do a bit of a wrap up. Before we finish off though, what I might get the oracle and the random roll tables to do is just to determine the name of the next town, and I'll just use the random tables, so we'll just roll on those. That's our complication dice. We shouldn't be touching those. So 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there it is, 29. So the next town along is Hothorpe. So Hothorpe. And it can either be towards the west or the north. All right, so 1 to 5 is west, 6 to 10 is north. So it's towards the west. So basically, our party, after talking to everybody in the hamlet, the ones that aren't working, obviously, at the river, have pretty much found out that these guys don't really know too much, though they have seen a group of strange individuals recently, groups of them, walking the north to west road, and that the next town to the west is Hothorpe, and at that place there is someone who knows or uses abacus-like devices, like the one, or possibly like the one that they found on the awakened tree. So yeah, I think we'll call this session done, and that way for the next session they'll start a fresh new day traveling, and we'll get them to travel towards the next town, because that's essentially what this current quest that they've got is, to go to each town or each settlement and just find out what, if anyone knows anything about what's going on or has any strange rumours about what's going on. And they found a particularly weird, strange rumour. And like I said, it may or may not be a plot device. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.